Hello everyone, welcome back to HS IGCSE English. We're going to look at the theme of friendship in On Mice and Men, perfect for IGCSE or GCSE standards. Of course, it couldn't just be asked as friendship. If it was going to be asked in the exam, you can also have something called a theme of love, the theme of companionship. Therefore, all of these kind of like mixed together here. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So the first paragraph, of course, is going to be George and Lenny's friendship. And the quote you of course can be using here is, "Guys like us work on ranches are the loneliest guys in the world. They ain't got nothing to look ahead to, but not us. We've got a future. We got somebody to talk that gives a damn about us." So initially, the whole thing about George and Lenny's relationship is that it's a complete anomaly to how Steinbeck portrays a sense of isolation within the ranch. Whether you think of Candy's dog being shot, whether you think of Crooks and his kind of loneliness, George and Lenny's friendship really provides a spark almost. There's like a true friendship that is an anomaly to the stereotypical kind of aspect of the Great Depression. Because of if you think about the historical context of the time, the Great Depression means that people basically have little support. There's little support for the banks, so they've all been run, as they had to say at the time. Therefore, in terms of, there's no real like financial incentive for one person to support someone else. Everyone's just trying to survive to the end of the day. That kind of survival nature, because of the nature of, I've seen here, the itinerant farm worker, means friendships were like scarce at the time, and therefore this kind of friendship and a true friendship here between George and Lenny is a real anomaly. And even the boss of the ranch is surprised by saying, "I never seen one guy take so much trouble for another guy. I'd like to see where your interest is." And that again just showing the whole anomaly in terms of friendship compared to the time of the Great Depression, where there was an incentive to support someone else. And as for example, George showing care for Lenny, you see, shown here, sorry, "You never got to drink water when I ain't running, Lenny," because George is showing care. And this kind of care, this friendship, has all been lost in the aftermath of the Great Depression at the end of the Roaring Twenties, and now the stock market crash and has made massive people unemployed, forced many people into being migrant farm workers, meaning that there's no, and because people are moving from ranch to ranch, meaning there's no time for friendship to blossom. And this is no further explained when it comes to paragraph 2, when I'm talking about the very small, but I think important to mention, the relationship between Whit and Bill Tenner. Because Whit, when he sees Bill Tenner's article in the newspaper, and he then says, "Hell of a nice fella, run cultivators, both of us." So it indicates that there was a friendship between Whit and Bill Tenner, especially as Whit's very excited. He reads it aloud to everyone. But again, it's ruined. This is the stereotypical aspect of the Great Depression. George and Lenny, his relationship, that's an anomaly. But Whit and Bill Tenner is the true relationship. Due to the nature of the itinerant farm work, again, that historical context, Bill Tenner has moved on, and therefore Whit's lost this friendship, but he's still trying to remember, trying to kind of find that goodness that was once there. Because, as you see, for example, they said here they raised to run cultivators. And it just exemplifies here how in the time of the Great Depression, relationships, they simply couldn't be kept. Because even George admitted that he could have had a girl. And again, the experiences of ranch workers almost is represented by Steinbeck himself, actually, if you want to really add to that historical context, because Steinbeck actually was a labourer in kind of farm kind of field for most of his life after finishing university. And again, he's probably tying that experience here when it comes to writing this book of Mice and Men. Now, paragraph 3, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be about Candy and Candy's dog. So, really, Candy has one friend. That's his, and in the whole kind of farm, and that really is his dog, because he's had him since he's a pup, and a hell of an old sheepdog in terms of the quotes that should be used here. And it also represents how long Candy has flourished, like almost like nature is a man's best friend, actually, because Candy's dog almost represents or foreshadows Candy in a way. Because Candy's dog is, all these past his prime. Candy's lost an arm. He's now a swamper on the farm. And eventually Candy's dog is shot, he's been put down. And Candy fears something will happen to him as well. But going back to the relationship, it almost like shows again the kind of stereotypical nature of the Great Depression, that no relationship could survive because everyone was out for their own survival. But another crucial thing about the friendship that you can talk about is that Candy and Candy's dog relationship almost is foreshadowing for the end of George and Lenny's relationship. Because, for example, Carlson shoots Lenny in the way that George, for example, Carlson shoots Candy's dog in the way that George will shoot Lenny at the end of the book, and you can almost compile this within Robert Burns' quote, which is where the title of Mice and Men comes from. The best laid schemes of mice and men gang after Agli, which means no matter how well we plan for the future, the best things will often go wrong, and that is where the title of this book comes from. And if you want another paragraph, you can look at Crux. Crux is kind of like loneliness, the fact he doesn't have a friendship. Again, linking to that isolation kind of paragraph. A theme, for example, that I have made a video about earlier. Feel free to go watch that. Quotes here like, a guy goes nuts if he ain't got nobody. Don't make no difference who the guy is as long as he's with you. Just Crux trying to exemplify the power of friendship. For example, he's due to racial prejudices. He's not allowed at the bunkhouse, as he said himself. I'm not wanted in there. And it just shows the prejudices that black people had to face. And Crux, for example, even has, for example, a copy of the 1905 Californian Civil Code just to make sure he knows what his rights is. And into the historical context, you can talk about how colored people are right at the bottom of the hierarchy here, and even below women actually, because Cozy's wife says, "I could get you strung up on a tree so easily, it wouldn't even be funny." Again, forcing Crux to retire into his terrible protected dignity. Clearly showing the lack of rights that colored people have due to some such as known as, for example, the Jim Crow laws. I'll just write here. Jim Crow laws. There's another kind of laws that were sent in to reduce the rights of colored people. But yeah, thank you very much for that. The end of friendship. Feel free to like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll move through more themes. As you can see, I've got dreams planned for next time. So yeah, thank you.